Because I still want to know why you came after me as much as you did.
Because I'm a dick, probably. Because it was easy. Because I don't like CNN, and I really mean that in my heart of hearts. I really just don't.
But why me?
I don't know.
How can you not know? It was so intentional. It was so frequent.
Because people kept sending me videos from Instagram.
You.
It was me.
It was you.
I sent him the first video, and then he was mesmerized.
But what was wrong with me lifting weights? You're an outdoorsman.
I just couldn't. I mean, I was pissed about the COVID thing. That is totally true. I didn't buy any of this from day one. That was totally real. But that's not, what I did was not really a pure refutation of your positions on COVID. It was me taking the cheap shots, which I'm not always above. And but you should be. You should be above that.
Did it feel good when you would come after me like
Felt
that?
a little dirty. Felt a little dirty.
Dirty good? Or dirty
You know, I'm not really a dirty good guy. You know what I mean?
Because you enjoyed it. Let me tell you, there was
is a
no
momentary,
shame in
everyone
your
in the
game.
room. No, I guess cameras aren't picking up all the people sitting here. But I mean, in the sense that, you know, I don't want to use any kind of sexual metaphor, but there is one for this. It's like something you shouldn't be doing, but there's kind of the animal thrill of doing something wrong, I guess is what I would say.
You loved it. You loved it, and it worked
But
for
I
you.
will say this,
and my
I will say
in-laws watch you. Do you know how hard it is to deal with having your in-laws enjoy a joke that makes you want to, you know, do bad things that are going to cost you civil litigation money? And
somebody did say, you know, Chris Cuomo's a lot bigger than you. Maybe you should be careful. I just couldn't, you know, I have weaknesses. I will say I don't think I have a weakness for women. I gave up drinking many years ago, but I'm still beset by the weaknesses of the flesh. And one of them is mockery. I just can't help it. And my wife, I will say, who we were just with, who's an unusually good person, and would always say, I don't like it when you're mean. You're not a mean person. You shouldn't be mean. Oh. And I'm very dependent on my wife's approval. Like, I'm totally happy to admit that. And she never criticizes me, but she, in a gentle way, like, I don't like it when you're mean. That's not who you are. It's kind of who I am. That's the problem. You know?
But I'm watching your stuff now. You know, I watched a lot of your stuff for this, and it's a different vibe, Tucker. Yeah. I mean, look, if we had been in more contact before you did the Putin interview, I would have told you, you got to check some boxes with this guy. I get why you're going to say, I'm not going to get there and get into a fight with a guy who may not let me out of the country.
No. I was never afraid. I was afraid of the U.S. government, not of Putin at all.
Of them doing what?
Arresting me when I got back for a sanctions violation. That's what my lawyers told me. If you go talk to Putin, and if you don't ask him tough questions, the Biden administration very easily arrests you. As a big law firm told me that, a big law firm. One of the biggest law firms.
But how bullshit is that?
I thought it was, and I was like, I don't care. I'm an American citizen. I'm going anyway. But I felt no threat whatsoever. I definitely felt threat.
You know, when the story came out that they had arrested somebody in Russia, that got like no attention. One of the things that you have to know about this guy, which I didn't believe, but now I do because I've been looking around his house like a little snoop. You don't watch TV and you don't pay attention to your social media about what's being said about you.
No.
That's why your hair is so full. And so rich in color.
No, I know who I am. I don't need to be told by people.
So
who
you
know
don't
me.
monitor it.
Not at all.
You don't know unless somebody tells you.
I never, in my old job, my executive producer sitting right there, I never got the ratings ever. I didn't want to know the ratings. I wasn't on the email list. I don't do email actually. And so no, I don't want to know that because
no social media. How am I doing? How's this getting picked up or not? You don't do it.
I don't watch myself on television or on tape or whatever it is. And they don't.
And you don't look at comments?
No. Why would I? Look, I have a big family, my immediate family, which is large, and then a large extended family with whom we're very close. And so I immediately get word if I'm doing something that offends them, which is not very often, but I have, and they'll tell me immediately. And so that's what I care about. And I care about, my religious faith. But why would I care about some commenter? I just don't. And by the way, I think it's really wrong to do that. Why would you give emotional control to a stranger? Like, don't do that.
Because well, look, you've gone on your own now, so it's different. The metrics are different. But for a pawn like me, I am somewhat at the mercy of how people decide to feel about me.
But once you self-liberate, or you liberate yourself from the completely irrelevant opinions of partisans and strangers, and focus only on the people in your world who's God has put right in front of you, then you're like completely free. And then it's like, well,
but our business is all about it. It's totally incestuous.
But you do better
and it's
in the
dependent
business
on social media as a proxy of vox populi. They believe that's the people speaking.
Right, but not caring is, as a practical matter, much more effective, because then you don't have any voices in your head other than the ones who matter.
Yeah, until your boss picks up the phone or the comms person picks up the phone and says, we got to clean this up. These people are not happy online because you use the word mouth breather, and it turns out that that's a form of a breathing thing that people are upset about, and you have to apologize.
The sleep apnea lobby's mad at you.
Whatever it is. And, you're like, oh, okay. And you look online, and it's only 400 people who said this randomized thing, but it now matters. The media has made it matter. Now the Washington Post calls.
So I would always
says people
say
online
to
are upset
them,
at
like, if you think you can host a TV show, why don't you? Okay? But actually you're working in the PR shop at some like depressing company. Like, you don't know anything. And if you think you're better at my job than I am, why don't you do it? But they can't. And so their whole justification for their sad jobs, at which they're not very good, is to make you feel insecure. And I'm not interested in playing along. Like, why would I care about some 32-year-old, unhappy, unmarried PR person? It's like the single dumbest, most insecure group in America. And they're like, oh, you got to do the New York Times Magazine. How about no? Like, no. You know what I mean?
I get it. I get the turning yourself off to criticism, although I think that's harder to do.
Wait, no, not criticism. If my wife looks at me cross-eyed, she'd bring me to my knees.
I'm saying social media criticism.
Yes, the irrelevant criticism. Why wouldn't you do that? Because it's actually really dangerous not to. It is. I always think this. It's giving a toddler a handgun. I'm a gun person. I shoot a lot. I'm totally for guns, but not in the hands of people who don't know what they're doing with guns, who are irresponsible, because it's too much power, right? And it will be misused. And the same is true with opinions and letting them in to your head. Keep all of that stuff out and just follow the voice. And the more quiet you are, the clearer the voice is.
I want to talk to you about where that takes you in terms of what you're doing and how it's the same or different for me. But I got to tell you, on one level, now that I know that you are not responsive to the external in terms of social media, the masses, that makes you coming after me as much as you did even worse, by the way. Because it's not like you were part of some feedback loop where you were like, man, this is rating. I got to keep doing it.
Like,
it was just you.
It was, and I try never to be passive aggressive. I really pride myself on just aggressive.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Passive aggressive. I'm a man. Okay, there's no excuse for passive aggression. But in some sense, that was, I'm not just saying this to spare your feelings, but I mean it. It was passive.
Spare my feelings. Well, spare my feelings.
I'm trying to explain. So it was, I think so little of Jeff Zucker, who I texted immediately when he got fired, though, on principle. But I worked for him, and I just, you don't have to comment, but I really have a low opinion of Jeff Zucker. I don't think he's a good person, and I mean that. And a lot of people up and down management at CNN, I know personally since I spent years there, and I felt very hostile toward them. And to some extent, it was like my passive-aggressive way of I mean, you were the biggest show, of, striking out at CNN.